Shalom, shalom. We would like to welcome you to the Truth Be Told Flex podcast, where I am your host, Sha'ir Yeshua Judah, sitting alongside of Oxafaya Sheoku. We're going to do it like we always do on every day that the Greeks call Thursday. We're going to have ourselves a great show. And if you have not done it yet, I ask that you would take time out and subscribe to the show and also hit that like button. With that being said, let's prepare ourselves to be edified. Shalom, shalom, shalom. We would like to welcome you to the Truth Be Told Flex podcast, and I am your host, Sha'ir Yeshua Judah, and I will be sitting by myself tonight. My co-host, Afaya Shehu, he had some business to take care of, but like we do every week, on the day that the Greeks call Thursday, we're going to get into some news that is happening around the world. We would like to give thanks as well to my brother Roshan Judah for that intro song that he created for the show. This is episode number 36. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, the title of the show is going to be called Two Different Judicial Systems, which was very easy to come up with, considering the things that is happening in the news, that has been happening in the news. We have two very high-profile cases that are going on in courthouses, one being in Georgia, the other being in Kenosha. And the one in Georgia is of the murderers of Ahmaud Arbery, the young man who was supposedly vandalizing or stealing or whatever, and he got imprisoned with a pickup truck. They pinned him in with a pickup truck, and a scuffle went on, and at the end of that, he got the short end of a 12-gauge shotgun, not once but two times, and it cost him his life. What's happening in Kenosha is a young guy by the name of Kyle Rittenhouse, who was running around wielding an AR-15. One could say that if this guy had been at home doing homework on this particular night, or been at home minding his business, doing dishes, or doing the normal thing that 16-year-olds would normally do, that on this particular night, two individuals' lives would not have been lost. But they were, because we had, in my opinion, a vigilante running around wanting to be a cop, wanting to be a military man, protecting property that did not even belong to him. Also lying about him being an EMT, saying that it was self-defense when he was the one that initiated. If you looked at the videos, if you're following the trial at all, you will see that he is the one that initiated everything that went on there, right? And so we got two individuals that are dead, two different judicial systems as well. Also, what has happened in the news this week, a couple of stories that we're going to get into, is a guy by the name of Julio Jones. I believe that I am pronouncing his name right. If I'm not, I apologize. I have it right before the end of the show. He is in Oklahoma. This guy was exonerated tonight from the death penalty at the last minute. At the last minute, his life was spared. Julius Jones. Yes, his name was Julius Jones. And also in the state of New York, an admitted rapist, an admitted repeat rapist. He raped 4 teens. The judge gave him probation instead of jail time. All of these things are happening in the world of the news that we're going in. Two different judicial systems. You know, you got white people that say that there is no such thing as white privilege. You have black people that say that, racism don't exist anymore. We have overcome those things. Well, both of those arguments to Sha'ir Yeshua Judah is dumb. both of them are dumb. Look, you had a white guy tonight in the case that happened in New York. One of the first things he led off with is that he's wealthy and that he is young and that he is white. And for him to get off from not seeing any jail time for raping 4 teenage girls is ridiculous. Remember, he said that he was white. This is a white guy that understands that white privilege exists in America. Their America is not the same as our America. And here in Oklahoma, you got this guy, Julius Jones, right, who was convicted of a murder and he was sentenced to death. And this whole time that he has been incarcerated, I believe it's been about 20 years, he has been holding on to his innocence. And the evidence that they have is a gun that they found in his house with a red shirt. We all know how police do criminal investigations. Once they have their mind set on who it is that is guilty, this is who they're going to rock with. And at some point, they tune out everything else, they blind out everything else, and they will do everything that they possibly can to ensure that once they get this guy arrested, they have built the case on him so much to the point to where everything is going to stick. And now we're able to give this guy the case. Where did this gun come from, right? Who says that this here was his gun? We saw what happened to the young kids that was in New York, where they did a whole Netflix special on them, on how the whole New York police system failed those kids and arrested those kids, and they were innocent. Stole their whole childhood away from them. It's 2 different judicial systems in this world that we live in. And we're going to start this one off in New York, and we're going to work our way to our people, right? But we're going to see what happened in New York after a man is spared in prison, no jail time, for a man charged with rape and sexual assault for victims.
Also from Niagara County tonight, there will be no jail time for a man who sexually assaulted 4 teenage girls in his Lewiston home over the span of 3 years. The Niagara County court judge sentenced 20-year-old Christopher Belter to 8 years probation. He'll also have to register as a sex offender. 7 Eyewitness News senior reporter Eileen Buckley was in the courtroom when the sentence was handed down today.
Through treatment and reflection, I've come to feel deep shame and regret for my actions. None of you deserve to be in this situation.
20-year-old Christopher Belter addressed the courtroom before sentencing for the rape and sexual assault of 4 teenage girls.
I know, though, that a scar will remain that will serve as a reminder of the evil of that night.
Some of his victims were in the courtroom for his sentencing when Niagara County Court Judge Matthew Murphy handed down his sentence of 8 years probation. That means Belter won't serve a day behind bars for the crimes that happened at his family's Lewiston home from 2017 to 2018. Belter was sentenced as an adult after Judge Murphy denied him youthful offender status for violating his probation by bypassing monitoring software on his computer to view pornography. But Judge Murphy decided prison time would be inappropriate.
I agonized. I'm not ashamed to say that I actually prayed over what is the appropriate sentence in this case. Because there was great pain, there was great harm, there were multiple crimes committed in the case.
Attorney Steve Cohen represents one of the victims and is outraged with the sentence. Cohen says there were zero consequences for violating his previous probation.
He is privileged. He comes from money. He is white. He's being sentenced as an adult appropriately. And for an adult to get away with these crimes without doing jail time is unjust.
His client was clearly upset and in tears when the sentence was read.
I believe she's in the bathroom throwing up right now. Excuse me.
During the sentencing, the prosecutor told the court calling the home where the acts occurred a party house was a disservice to all the victims.
It was not a party house case, Judge. It was a house sexual assault. That is what happened there. That is not something that we should look past.
Belter must follow an extensive list of probation rules that the judge says will be like a sword hanging over his head. He must register as a sex offender, and he will be back in court on December 2nd. It will be decided whether he is a level 1, 2, or 3 sex offender. Eileen Buckley, 7 Eyewitness News.
So here we go, man. This was something that really baffled me. For the life of me, I could not understand how this judge was able to come into his courtroom and look those victims in the face and at the same time give this man probation. Especially in the time that we're living in now, which is this Me Too era, right? This Me Too era that we live in. The women are supposed to be protected. This is, why Bill Cosby sat in jail for all of this time, right? For crimes that he committed way back in the late 60s. That nobody can really prove that he did. We have individuals that are sitting in jail for way less crimes than this. You want to say that it's drug-related crimes? Well, I'm talking about just straight marijuana. Small levels of marijuana. They're sitting in jail and their lives are pining away. In Florida, a few years back, there was a lady who fired a gun in her house for protection, did not shoot anybody, and the judge gave this lady time in prison. And here we have this privileged, rich, white guy who admitted that he raped these 4 young ladies. And the judge gives him 8 years probation. Make that make sense to me. There's 2 different judicial systems that we live in. But in order for you to understand the judicial systems, you have to understand who the laws were written for and who they were put in place to protect. They were not put in place to protect you and I. They were put in place to protect these guys from us. He is not looked at as a menace to society. He is not looked at as a bad guy. The judge said, and quote, we're going to look at this. This is what the judge says. I am not ashamed to say that I actually prayed over what is the appropriate sentence in this case because there was great pain. The judge, Matthew J. Murphy III of Niagara, New York, County Court said at Mr. Belter's sentencing on Tuesday. A local television station, there was great harm. There was multiple crimes committed in the case. Still, the judge continued, it seemed to me that a sentence that involved incarceration or partial incarceration isn't appropriate. But yet, there were multiple crimes committed. This is what incarceration was created for? To incarcerate the criminals that committed the crimes? There is no way on the most high or highest green earth that if this had been a person that did not have the wealth that this individual had, that did not live in the same zip code as this individual lived in, or a person that did not look like him, that looked more like you and I, we would have been sentenced up under the jailhouse. They'd have thrown the entire book at us. 10 years for each victim. That's a total of 40 years. Total of 40 years. But it seemed to this judge that a sentence that involves incarceration or partial incarceration isn't appropriate. He told Mr. Belter, who must register as a sex offender, the probation would be like a sword hanging over his head for the next 8 years. Well, what's hanging over the head of the victims when they heard you say probation and no jail time? What if that had been your daughter, Judge Murphy the third? There was a movie that Samuel L. Jackson played in. Very good movie if you've never seen it before. These are the reasons these types of things happen now. Yeah, it was a movie and Samuel L. Jackson starred in it, and Matthew McConaughey was his attorney. Samuel L. Jackson's daughter was beat and raped by some white guys in the town that they lived in the southern town that they lived in. They were Klan members, and the judge also was a Klan, Brotherhood. And these guys were going to walk for what it is that they did, but Samuel L. Jackson took law into his own hand. And by no means am I saying that this is what needs to be done, but I get it as a father. I get it. You saying that him registering as a sex offender is going to be like a sword hanging over his head for the next 8 years? What's hanging over the head of the victims that were raped? He took something from them that did not belong to him, and neither did they give it to him. Judge Matthew J. Murphy III, you have let a sexual predator back on the streets. The streets of Niagara, New York are no longer safe because of your bad decision that you made, because as you was looking at him, you was not looking at a criminal, you was looking at a clean-cut, rich, sophisticated white guy who deserves a second chance at life. That's what you was looking at. When you got all of these thousands of young black men whose lives are pining away in a penal system over things, over nonviolent crimes. California, they have a rule: 3 strikes, you're out. Meaning no matter what you go for, if you go 3 times, that third time, you get life. No matter how minimal it is, no matter what it may be, that third time strike, you get life. And yet this guy here admitted. He admitted. He pleaded guilty to the crime of sex. Of rape. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. And the judge gives him probation. Make it make sense to Shia Yeshub Judah. Because from where I'm sitting, it makes absolutely no sense at all. It's time for us to go to our music. We're going to get a little bit of your Pod Q No Flag going on. I want to say congratulations to this young lady as well. She just dropped a new single that was entitled Took Me Out of That. And I believe that the young lady is now on the Billboard with that song. And if you have not heard it, please go and find it. It's called Took Me Out of That. You can also buy you a digital copy of it for 99 cents as well. If you need information on how to do that, the Hebrew Light magazine is what you can contact. Her name is Sister Delta. But right now, let's get it to No Flag. And when we come back, we're going to go to Oklahoma.
This is a solo key production.
This is really how they feel about you. Stripped of your heritage, beat you to amnesia, wanting your God to forget about you. You always the target in they killing season. They cannot do anything without you. They lacking the flavor. We salt of the earth, the same earth that formed black man from the dirt. Put the queen beside, now she birthed in the earth. Melanin rich, 350 a gram. $1 million baby, why you flipping the pound? Doing a lot of thinking lately. We can't be from two places. We ain't got nowhere to put our flag in the ground. 54 places in the motherland, soul like contraband. Who are you? I know who I am, child of I am. Bringing life like a diaphragm, trying to paint a picture like a diagram. We connecting the dots in the scam, pointing the plot. Uncle Sam, red, white, and blue, got your program. We connecting the dots in the scam, pointing the plot. Uncle Sam, red, white, and blue, got your program. If you got a flag, go and wave your flag now. If you got a flag, go and wave your flag now. If you got a flag, go and wave your flag now. Wave your flag now, wave your flag now. Every race got a flag but the coon. 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 You ain't got no flag cause of disobedience. Left the law and know it ain't tedious. White man got something to do with it. Better yet, he commissioned to pull trigger. Better know he don't know what to do with you. All the nations get together, they trying to kill you. Worst thing, we do it to ourselves, yeah. Crazy thing, y'all don't even care now. You ain't got no flag cause they stole them all. If they tie you to anything, gotta tie you to the promise. Why they over DNA? Why they over CIA? Why people MIA? Why you jumping faith to faith? Why you causing your demise? They can't look you in the eye. They don't really know the why. They just know you got a guide. Don't just settle for the water in the desert. It's my ride. Your identity is what they trying to sabotage. We connecting the dots in the scam. Pointing the plot. Uncle Sam, red, white, and blue, got your program. We connecting the dots in the scam, pointing the plot. Uncle Sam, red, white, and blue, got your program. If you got a flag, go and wave your flag now. If you got a flag, go and wave your flag now. If you got a flag, go and wave your flag now. Wave your flag now, wave your flag now. Every race got a flag but the coon. Every race got a flag but the coon. Every race got a flag but the coon. Every race got a flag but the coon.
Indeed, your Pod Q, No Flag. I don't know how many people have asked the question, why is it that these types of things always happen to us as a people, right? And, I don't know how much of this song that you guys listened to when she was singing, but she said we are in the situation because of the disobedience that we have done. We forgot who our power was. We forgot who our God was. And we went to go and chasing other gods. We wanted to be like the other nations. And so the Most High was like, okay, well, since you want to be like the other nations, I will turn you over to the other nations. And this is one of the things that he said. This is coming out of the book of Ezekiel, and he's talking to the children of Israel. And for people who don't know, this is not a Christian book. This is a Hebrew book. Okay, this is the Bible, the King James Bible. Got nothing to do with Christians. This is Ezekiel chapter 16. It said, and it came to pass after all thy wickedness, woe unto thee, saith the higher, that thou hast also built unto thee an eminent place, and thou made thee a high place in every tree. Thou hast built thy high place in every head of the way. Thou hast made thy beauty to be abhorred. Thou hast opened thy feet to every one that passed by, and multiplied thy whoredoms. Thou hast also committed fornications with the Egyptians, thy neighbors, greater flesh. Thou hast increased thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger. Behold, therefore, I have stretched out my hand over thee, and have diminished thy ordinary food, and delivered thee unto the will of them that hate thee. We have been delivered over to the will of them that hate us. This is why we don't have a flag. This is why we're always on the bad end of the stick. This is why there is two different judicial systems. Because those that hate us, we are up under the will of them. They only want to benefit from us. They only want to profit from us. But as far as our well-being, as far as our safety, as far as our humanity, they could care less about that. They don't care about that. Not at all. Which brings us back to the courtroom, because also today, the Oklahoma governor grant clemency to Julius Jones, halting his execution. He was supposed to be executed today around 4 something Central Time in Oklahoma. November the 1st, the parole and pardon, they had voted 3-1 that he shouldn't be, but the governor still had not signed off on it, and it took him all the way up into today. This was something that has been going on. They have not been talking about it nationally. This story actually dropped in my lap today. 1999 is when he was when he was convicted of the murder. And this whole time, Julius Jones have been holding on to his innocence, right? Kim Kardashian done stepped up. You haven't had some NFL football players that done stepped up. And so this guy was in jail all of this time. So what the judge did, he held off his execution, but he has to spend the rest of his natural life in the penitentiary without the possibility of parole. And on top of that, it's also added that he could not ever get pardoned as well. And as I was talking to my wife about it, I said that's strange that they would say something like that, because what if the guy is innocent? And we see this all the time where new evidence is permitted to be brought up, right? And come to find out that the person who done spent all of these years in prison is not actually guilty. And so, done spent 20, 25 years in prison, come to find out that they're not guilty of the crime that they done spent all of this time. And so the state let them out. Well, what if evidence comes up that Oklahoma Police Department was corrupt, and the gun that they say that they found was never his gun? What if it comes up that they find the guy who actually committed the murders, and all the DNA points to this guy, And now you have this guy who the governor say that he could never receive pardon. How is that going to work? Let's get this video clip in, and then we're going to come back and we're going to chop it up about this guy.
Protests turning to cheers and celebrations after Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt halted the execution of Julius Jones just hours before he was set to die by lethal injection for a murder he says he did not commit. In a statement, the governor saying, "I have determined to commute Julius Jones's sentence to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole."
I feel empty. The system is broken.
For years, the family of Julius Jones had called on state, local, and federal advocates to step in, their voices amplified by athletes and celebrities.
Hopefully, God can intervene.
Even by local high school students who just this week staged a walkout in protest.
He's not this monster that people have portrayed him to be.
Julius Jones was 19 years old when he was arrested for the 1999 murder of Paul Howell. He was convicted and sentenced to death in 2002. Questions over Jones' role in Howell's death were raised in September that eventually led to a recommendation from the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board to commute his sentence to life in prison with possibility of parole. Nightline spoke to Jones's family shortly after that ruling.
What does justice for Julius look like? It looks like Julius being able to feel the sun on his skin. It looks like him having no chains when he gets to go outside.
Though the Pardon and Parole Board recommended clemency for Jones by 3-1 with the possibility of parole, the governor today did not guarantee Jones's freedom. The attorney for Julius Jones writing in a statement saying in part, "We hope the governor would adopt the board's recommendation," going on to say, "We are grateful that the governor prevented an irreparable mistake." The governor's decision also says that Julius Jones is not eligible for any additional commutation, parole, or pardon for the remainder of his life. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Los Angeles.
So here we go. His mother says that the system is broke. I don't agree. The system is not broke. This is something that people who don't realize their position believe. Because we believe that we should get the same treatment as everybody else. The system is not broke. The system is working exactly the way that it was designed to work. Mother said that he is not this monster that the courthouses is portraying him to be. I believe her. But yet the monster got 8 years probation. The monster is not going to see not one day in jail, and yet a guy, because you got to understand, this was a white guy that this guy was supposed to kill. And in the state of Oklahoma, if he was actually guilty of doing this, there is no way that the parole and pardon would have said, "Hey, maybe we might not need to execute this dude." They got to know something that the public don't know for the recommendation to even come up. They didn't want that blood to be on their hand. Remember that? Barabbas or your Jesus? And the crowd said, "Give us Jesus." Caesar says, "I wash my hands of this, and his blood should not be on my hand." This is what the board of parole and pardon was saying. They didn't want that blood to be on their hand. They had to present something to the governor for him to wait all the way up to a few hours of this guy dying for him to come and say, "Hey, okay, we're not going to kill him, but he's going to do life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, and on top of that, he could never be pardoned." Why not give him a new trial? I don't know what happened in that case all those years ago. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I do. I don't know the particulars of what happened in that case. But why not give him a new trial? If he is saying that he's innocent, you saying that he's guilty, the original verdict was guilty and sentenced to death by lethal injection. But now you saying that he don't deserve to die. Why is the question? Why is the question? This is what you would call a bittersweet, because for the family, at least they can still go see him. They can still go talk to him. They can still go hear his laughter. His mom can still hug him if they have that type of visitation there in Oklahoma. I don't know if they do or not, right? But he'll never be able to, as his sisters say, feel the sun up against his skin. When the monster that raped not one, not two, not three, but 4 times and admitted that he did it, but he's rich, he's young, and he is white, would not see not one day in court. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. This guy here, and I want to give all praises to the Most High, because they could have killed him, and they didn't. But did the did the state of Oklahoma do good police work? Or did they just fix in their mind that this is the guilty guy? Because I have seen it time and time again. Once the police officers or department or detectives say that this is the guy, and they will build a case against these people. Just like they did with those 5 young men in New York. Whole life was taken away from them. They had these kids in interrogation rooms by themselves. No attorney, no parents. And they drilled them over and over and over again. 12 hours, 13 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours, until they said what they wanted them to say. They forced them to sign these papers. One of the kids in that 5, he said, I just wanted to go home, so I signed it because that's what they told me that I was going to do. That was the youngest one. This is how they treat us here in America. It's 2 different judicial systems. Do you not see it? The monster, the threat to society, he gets probation. While a man that the court said deserved death, all of a sudden, a few hours before he received death, well, maybe he don't deserve death, but we gonna keep him locked up anyway. We gonna keep him locked up. I don't get it, people. But then again, I do get it. This is not our kingdom. Again, the Most High said, he told you. He told you. He said, behold, therefore I have stretched out my hand over thee. His hand is stretched out over us. And have diminished thy ordinary food and delivered thee unto the will of them that hate thee. They hate us because of our very DNA. They hate us. The dragon was wroth with the woman, and he went to make war with the remnant of her seed. That's us. We can march all we want. We can protest all we want. We can cry all we want. We can hold hands all we want. We can light as many candles as we want. But as long as we remain disobedient, nothing will ever change for us. We're grateful that the governor has prevented an irreparable mistake. For these type of words to be spoken of the parole board, they know something that the public don't know. I'm not this to sit here and say that this guy's innocent, but I can sure say what it seems like. Because there is no way on God's green earth that they would let this Negro live if he was guilty of the crimes that the court said that he deserved death for. Emmett Till was killed because they said he simply looked at a white woman and they beat him with a tie rod till his face was disfigured. And they wanted to have a closed casket funeral. His mama said, no. We gonna open this casket because I want the world to see what they did to my baby. Nah, we're not gonna close it. When they found him, his body stench the entire town. You telling me for them to say we're grateful that the governor has prevented an irreparable mistake? They know something. But they gonna let the monster walk with 8 years probation. Paul Howard doing the carjacking. Carjacking is one of the most hideous crimes that could be committed, especially when death is involved. There's no way, listen to me, there is no way that Julius Jones would have been able to preserve his life if the people that make the law and supposed to uphold the law did not know something. They couldn't kill the innocent man. That's what that was. That's exactly what that was. We're going to move on. Before we go there, let me bring up something right quick. New edition of the Light magazine has been released. Let me bring that up right quick. If you have not, you don't know anything about the Light magazine, This is where you can find your Hebrew news. You can find your Hebrew businesses. And she also spotlight Hebrew artists as well. The new edition, this is not the new edition right here. This is October's edition. Hold on. New edition have a royal family on the cover. Royal family on the cover. Let me see if I can find it right quick. I'm sorry. Light magazine. I do apologize. I do apologize. I can't find it right now. I do apologize. But yeah, this is a magazine that belongs to Sister Delta. And like I say, you could find the Hebrew businesses, black-owned businesses. You know, we always want to give our dollars to our people if we can. And of course, we expect to have good services back. Different musicians that maybe you have not heard of, new music is highlighted in it as well. And, you know, this is by the hardest working lady in the Hebrew community. Her name is Sister Delta. So, yeah, I wanted to take a minute and make note of that. Now, moving on in our news, Facebook is changing the name of Facebook to Metaverse. What he said. Now, we're going to dedicate probably a whole show to Metaverse because there's so much about Metaverse that needs to be talked about. When Satan said that he is going to be like the Most High, this is a verse that I've read for many, many years. I have. But I never knew to what extent that he was talking about when he said that. This extent goes a mighty long way. When he said that he is going to be like the Most High, he actually meant that. Satan don't have the power to create, but he has the technology. Hold on. He don't have the power to grow food from the ground naturally with the seed yielding its kind. But he has the technology to have what is called GMOs, genetically modified foods. Satan don't have the power to create life, flesh and blood, and to put in that individual its own DNA. But he has the technology to create what is called AIs. Satan does not have the ability to create a heaven, a earth, or seas. But what he has done is he has the technology to create what he calls metaverse. Now, the Jewish people, small Jew, capital ISH, they're all over Zuckerberg because of the name Meta. Now, we know that they don't speak real Hebrew. They speak a language that is called Yiddish, right? So I don't know if this is actually Yiddish in which it means or if it's actually the Hebrew, but they saying, look, yo, man, this word meta actually means death. Now, Zuckerberg says that meta means transferable, right? But the Jewish people saying, nah, it means death in Hebrew, right? I'm going to rock with the small Jew, capital ISH on this here. That's what I'm going to rock with. And the reason why is because there cannot be nothing good out of the word meta. Metatron is a god that music artists pray to and worship to. Carlos Santana tell you that he prayed to Metatron for his music. He would go into a trance, and when he come out of the trance, he'll have a whole song. Katy Perry has been on record to say that she prayed to Metatron. There is a god that is mentioned in the book of Jubilees by the name of Mastema. Now, one thing that I know for sure is that a lot of these gods have different names, but they talk about the same person, like Jehovah is Jupiter. Jehovah is also Mastema. So who's to say that Mastema is not Metatron? And yet you want to change the name of Facebook to Metaverse. And if you take it in the language that these small Jew, capital ISH people say, this is a dead universe. And that's exactly what it's going to be. This is going to be a place that is going to allow people to escape reality into a virtual world. They're going to be able to buy. They're going to be able to meet with other people. They're going to be able to do everything that they can own. They're going to have ownership. They're going to have money and all of this in this world. Now, one of the promises that the Most High Ahaya has promised to those that believe him and keep his commandments is that Yahshua say, though you die, you may not die. You will not die. He who saves it, he who loves his life shall lose it. Did I say that right? He that saves his life shall lose it. But if you love the Most High, I might have messed that up, so forgive me. But if you love him more than you love your own life, he's saying that you will not lose your life. You will not lose your life. Right? Let's see if I can find that right quick. I don't like that. I don't like the way I made it. 1 second. I should have said it. I'm getting old. Here we go. This is Luke 9:24. I'm going to pull it up so you can see it. I could not in the good walk away. Luke 9:24, here it is. For whosoever will save his life will lose it. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. So this story that we have now that is working in this world of metaverse, right? We're going to see how this world that Satan has created, remember when he said that I will be like the Most High, he meant that. He meant that all the way around. And so we have a mother who reunited with dead daughter in virtual reality. So not only has Satan created a whole world, in this world, he is going to be able to bring the dead back to people. Now we know that these people are not really dead, right? I mean, these people are not really coming back. But this is the illusion that he is given in this virtual reality world. What this metaverse is going to be, it's going to be us not looking at the internet, but Mark Zuckerberg is going to give us the ability to go inside of the universe. I mean, the internet. It says a tearful reunion between a mother and her dead daughter via advanced virtual reality for South Korean television has become an online hit, triggering a fierce debate about voyeurism and exploitation. The footage begins with the girl who died of leukemia in 2016, emerging from behind a pile of wood in a park as if playing hide and seek. "Mom, where have you been?" she asked. "I miss you a lot." "Have you missed me?" Tears streaming down her face, Yang Yi-sung reached out towards her, racked with emotions. "I missed you, Nayeon," she told the computer-generated 6-year-old, her hands moving to stroke her hair. But in the real world, Yang was standing in front of a studio green screen wearing a virtual reality headset and touching sensitive gloves, her daughter's ashes in a locket around her neck. At times, the camera cut to Yang watching husband and their 3 surviving children wiping away tears of their own. A 9-minute clip of Muwa Broadcasting Corporation documentary, "I Met You," has been watched more than 13 million times in a week on YouTube. That's sorcery. That's sorcery. And this is the technology that the beast have. This is why Yasha said the very first thing that he said when they asked us, "Tell us the signs of the end." He said, "Be not deceived." Solomon tells us in Ecclesiastes that the dead don't know anything. But yet, in this virtual world, you will be able to touch your dead relatives. All in the world of the dead universe that is called metaverse. Podcast is called It's All Unraveling. Truth Be Told Flex podcast is all unraveling. I'm showing you through the power of the Most High how this world is coming apart at its seams. And they got us distracted with all kind of craziness that is in this world, like these rappers getting killed and all of this stuff, and sports, entertainment, and music, when we are not realizing that the rug is being pulled from under our feet. Daniel chapter 7 tells you that a rock was cut out of the mountain and it smashed the feet of the statue, the feet that was mixed with iron and clay. And the whole statue came tumbling down, and then a whole kingdom was built. And Daniel 7 says that that kingdom was given into the hands of the saints. Let's get away from this stuff that is in here. This virtual reality stuff is not real. They are going to con people out of their money. People are going to be spending real money for virtual products that they'll never own. We're going to spend some time on this metaverse. We're going to talk about metaverse. We're going to talk about non-fungible tokens. We're going to talk about all of this. And we're going to show, on this show, we are going to see how Satan is setting up a kingdom of unrighteousness. And he's also using the cocktail as part of the recipe. This has been a good one. I've had a great time. Really, really great time. I am Shia Yeshub Judah. This is the Truth Be Told Flex podcast. Hopefully next week, Oxafy will be back with us. But don't forget that their America is not our America. It don't matter how much we protest. It don't matter how much we march. It don't matter. None of these things matter. The only thing matter is that we get back to the laws that the Most High has set for us. Because us disobeying them laws is the reason why we are here right now anyway. Till next week on the day that the Greeks call Thursday, I am Shia Yeshub Judah. And again, I would like to say Tawada to the new subscribers. And for those who have not yet, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, hit the like button, and leave a comment.
It's all unraveling. It's all unraveling. Listen, man, in case you didn't know, no, it's almost getting close. In case you didn't know.
This has been real. We would like to thank you, and we will see you at this same time next week.
Only the ones with no faith that take the vaccines. Step to me with it, I'ma make your back lean. We at the end, new sort of make a more up. Christ about to come and mop the floor up. Walking up in Louis V with your mask on. Check the me's, man, they about to get their blast on. Prophecy, interpretation, Isaiah 55:11, so it ain't no faking. Crack your dough, it's getting close. I'm here to tell you, just in case you didn't know. Listen, man, in case you didn't know, no, it's almost getting close. In case you didn't know, no, it's on unraveling. Babylon got pregnant with a daughter.